Good morning. As we move on with fundamentals of faith, our third lesson, our third topic, unforgiveness disarms faith. I want to open right up with Matthew 9:20 through 22. The woman with the issue of blood, she is our model for the fundamentals of faith. We know she heard the words. She said, proclamation, I will be made whole. And action, touched his garment. Now both saying and touching are corresponding actions. There is another part of faith, that is forgiveness. She forgave all them. She had to forgive all them physicians that just took her money and made her worse. So let's look at that now. I said we're gonna open up with that. So let's go ahead and just now we'll read Matthew 9:20 through 22. 20 through 22. And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. For she said within herself, if I may but touch his garment, I shall be made whole. But Jesus turned about him, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort, thy faith has made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. See, if she hadn't forgive those physicians, those caregivers, maybe even the hurtful things family said to her or done, but if whatever the case, if there wasn't forgiveness, it would have disarmed all that faith she had, saying, if I but touch the hem of his garment, I'll be made whole. You can have all the faith in the world, but if you don't forgive, it's not going to do any good. Forgiveness, I guess you could say forgiveness is the key to unlock the box of faith that you have. I want to pause here and look at the faith scriptures we read at the beginning. And recall that though there is a point of physical action, corresponding actions, that there are a number of things that are the parts of works. They all work as parts of the whole. One gear missing in a machine will keep it from operating. One part of the works will keep faith from operating. Do you remember we had to abide and corresponding actions and love and the rest? Patience, waiting. The one thing people don't like to do, I don't want to wait. I live in a fast food world. Lord, I need a blessing. Where's it at? We don't want to wait. Maybe we should start praying and let the Spirit intercede in tongues through us, for us, and when we need that, it's there. Even before we need it. Don't wait to pray for something and go, where's it at? Maybe we should be in prayer and then let the Spirit pray through us, not only for others, but He'll pray through us for our need, because the Spirit knows what we need before we do. But now back to the woman with the issue of blood. She heard, she said, she touched, and she forgave. She had to forgive someone, or she had to forgive somewhere between here and saying. Somewhere between that proclamation. She had to forgive someone there. Because when she was saying, she was in the process of going to touch him. Mark 11:25. And when you stand praying, forgive if you have aught against any, that your Father also which is in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. Well, who did she forgive? Like I've already said, she forgave the physicians. Luke 8:43, and the woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any. This woman was a shut-in. It was against the law for her to be out of her house. So for her to hear, it was probably told her about Jesus and his message. She heard maybe talking in the street outside of her house. The people that had to come in and help care for her, bring her food and stuff because she was a shut-in, they told her. Somebody had to sit down, or she had to hear, like I said, someone say, the master can heal you, but you have to forgive the doctors. The master said to forgive if you want forgiveness. At the beginning of a previous lesson, we saw, well, I'm not going to show this, but I'll explain it because I've aired this once before. I had my buddy Sean way back years ago at Trinity Temple talking about unforgiveness. I put him in a big old bulldog collar and a big old heavy duty chain onto it, and we called that collar a collar of unforgiveness. And I handed it to him, and he had to put it on and click it around his neck, because you have to choose to walk into or put on unforgiveness. We choose who to forgive and when to forgive them. We were created with a free will. Yet, we forget that forgiving is not a choice we have. We were commanded to forgive. Especially if you want to be forgiven. John 15:9-10 says, as the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If you keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. We are to be even as. Now, that's part of a really old lesson. You want to go back to, I think, scroll back, look for lessons way back in 2022. Some may remember I talked about being even as. We are even as Jesus. We're joint heirs. Now I'm not going to get off in that other lesson, but just remember, Jesus kept the Father's commandments, and we are to keep his commandments. So we're supposed to do even as Jesus did. Unforgiveness disarms faith. It takes a gear out of faith, and faith cannot work. You can believe, you can testify, you can do all kinds of things, you can stand, you can proclaim, but if you're not forgiving, that's one of those corresponding actions. If you're not forgiving, then you've taken a gear out of the process. Excuse me. Now faith can't work. How often did Jesus tell people, your faith has made you whole? Or be it done unto you according to your faith. Forgiveness is a basic fundamental. How would you like it if Jesus said, you went up, if you was back then and you walked up and Jesus said, your faith, or be it done unto you according to your faith, and you don't get well. Uh-oh. The fundamentals of faith didn't change. They're the same fundamentals back then, only he was teaching people then. You're being taught now by other people, and you're growing and you're learning. Since this was a short video, I'm going to go ahead and play that portion of the sermon I did with Sean in the dog collar.
If it don't fit you, then your next thing you're going to bulldogs. I'm going to use the word. Okay. But you notice I had him put it on. All right? And why did I have him put it on? Because you have to choose to walk into unforgiveness. You put that collar on and you wear it. Now, is that heavy? Not bad? It's better than that food I could have, that food chain I could have got. You just figure out, I don't feel clean. But I borrowed that from work because it's a nice heavy-duty chain. Now, we can give a practical example. When we were working on my truck, the wrench slipped and popped him in the lip. He got mad at me. Said if I hadn't worked on his truck, or he would have been underneath this thing, I would have popped myself in the lip, would have been tasting blood for a day. And he could, all of a sudden, he's got bitterness on his chain as he walked into that collar of unforgiveness. But he didn't let that go that far because, things happen when you're doing the camping. But what about that guy that cuts you off in traffic? You got bitterness. Maybe you've already got strife. So that chain is just dangling there with nobody on the other end because you don't know who to blame except some random driver. But you walked into the collar. You put it on by choice. Now, another thought that comes to my mind is, anybody remember the old black and white movie Scrooge? Remember that? And then when Bob Marley showed up, Ebenezer said, "Oh, you have my sympathy." And Bob Marley said, how you say that? He goes, you don't know the length and weight of chain you bear. You worked on yours for 7 years more than what I've got. Scrooge had a bigger chain than Bob Marley, and Scrooge said, I pity you. Well, when you carry around any one of these, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, bitterness, this chain just keeps getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And pretty soon, you're just used to this. Hold on to that. You're just used to carrying it around with you. Now, I can carry this around. But you know what usually happens? What usually happens? It's anchored somewhere. Go ahead and walk around a little bit, brother. You can't go so far. You can't go so far. You like that? You can't go but so far. And the reason you can't go but so far because it's anchored to whatever it's got you mad. It's got you bitter. You can't get away from this. As long as you're in unforgiveness. But you can make a choice and say, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. Maybe it's the devil yanking you around. After a while, he's like, I got this thing. But you have a choice. You have a choice. You don't have to change you around here. You can escape unforgiveness by forgiving. Amen.
Next week, in lesson 4, meditation and revelation. But until then, God bless and forgive if you want to be forgiven.